Hi there, my name is Ryan. I make games and puzzles. One thing I like just as much as making games and puzzles is how to get better at making games and puzzles. To this end, in my spare time, I practice puzzle design because I'm really cool. There's this wonderful puzzle game called LOK by Blaž Urban Gracar, which you can get on Steam, on mobile, and in a lovely spiral-bound book. It has these elegant word search puzzles, except it's in a made-up language that you learn as you play, and each word has wonderful effects which open up lots of lovely design possibilities. What's wonderful about this puzzle format is that finding the keywords within the grid space isn't enough. You must understand each word's temporal place within the flow of each puzzle. You can make these puzzles really quickly, and it might help sharpen your design practice. And that's what this video is about, getting stuck into game design with lots of avenues for practice. The basic premise of a LOK puzzle is eliminating all the tiles on the grid. You do this by spelling out a word which will eliminate those tiles, then you can use that word's special ability to eliminate more tiles. For example, the LOK keyword allows you to choose one other tile on the grid to eliminate. The TLAC keyword allows you to eliminate two tiles that are adjacent to each other. The TA keyword eliminates all tiles of a certain type, whether they be empty tiles or if you have a special loathing for the letter J. I'll not reveal all the different keywords and rules you discover throughout playing LOK, as it does a wonderful job of structuring its puzzles, so you're always learning something new and reinforcing solving solutions. So if you have the opportunity, do go and try it. What I'll do here is create a simple puzzle using techniques found early on in the game. What I want to do with this simple walkthrough is incorporate how I might come up with a puzzle idea. For a LOK puzzle specifically, I want to keep in mind the keywords and the basic rules I might want to play with. Something I find interesting about the first three keywords is their relationship to each other. Both LOK and TA share letters with TLAC. There's something really pleasing about this keyword relationship to me. In a typical word search puzzle, words can be relatively simple to find, so for me having letters and words hide within others makes a LOK puzzle really sing, since it requires players to understand that temporal flow. So I want to make a puzzle about this relationship and get players to move away from their initial instinct of using the first thing they see. From this, I know I want to use the LOK, TLAC and TA keywords. I also want to put one of them right out in the open, so it tempts players to try and solve with that one first. Given that TLAC has this sharing relationship with the other two keywords, let's put it out in the open, reading from left to right. Next, if I'm showing this interconnected usage of letters, then I want to show how the LOK keyword connects. So I'm going to place two of these vertically so they line up with letters used in the TLAC keyword. For the TA keyword, I want it moving in a different vertical direction to the other LOK keywords, so I'll place it going from top to bottom. Finally, I need to account for the fact that the LOK and TA keywords will need tiles to eliminate, so I'll place these here. Now we need to draw a grid around the puzzle, and for a final step we can put it in the LOK level editor to check that it works. Now, this is an incredibly simple puzzle showing these concepts. The three tiles being eliminated by keyword abilities don't reveal any connections between words. Everything is right in front of the player, asking them to figure out the sequence and which keyword is a red herring. But you can make loads of puzzles exploring countless possibilities over and over, whether on pen and paper or on the LOK level editor. One thing that I find important for my design process is analysis. Why do some puzzles or levels work really well? How are they structuring their flow for players? What are they trying to teach us? For LOK puzzles, there's no greater resource than the puzzles in the game itself. By looking at these two puzzles within the context of their placement in Chapter 1, we can see how they set the player up for learning specific things about the rules. This first puzzle constrains the player's possible actions to one movement, with this keyword here. By eliminating this first word, it then opens up this second word horizontally because of the eliminated tiles. Then, as a consequence of the first two actions, the player can narrow the space to get this third letter. This puzzle quietly guides the player through the first couple of actions, showing them one word at a time. It teaches players that adjacency can change based on tiles eliminated from the grid. This second puzzle comes at the end of the first chapter. This tile here acts as a kind of pivot point. As a player, you have the ability to spell a word vertically down or horizontally to the right and left. Instead of locking down the player's choice to teach them, they are tested to see if they can get the right answer. It's up to the player to parse where they can possibly make these 3 lock keywords out of the grid. This is one of the first introductions to keywords as temporally located. The best puzzles are teaching players something about the rules or twisting their understanding of the format, but crucially, they do that in the context of the game progression or with an explanation of its standalone nature. Understand that puzzles you create have a context from which they came, whether it be the game progression you are making it for, the difficulty they have, or the standalone idea and rule sets you are looking to explore. Analysing similar puzzles, or even your own, will help you see if you've been able to match up to the context and objectives laid out in your original design. Now, in my last video on game design, I talked about the importance of solving solutions when designing puzzles. That's still the case here, but something that's also important is diving straight in with a toolbox of ideas and curiosities. This is something that I was lucky to talk about with LOK's creator, Blaž.
It's almost that all of the puzzles in LOK, they follow each other so well. There's a brilliant line of learning almost throughout the entire book, throughout LOK Digital. If you were to approach making a LOK puzzle in isolation of explaining the rules to players, what would your process look like? What would be the first thing you would do, and how would you follow that thread?
So if I would approach making a LOK puzzle knowing all the rules already, I think that I'd first start with a strong idea. I think that this is key to all puzzles, not just in LOK, but in all games, I guess. And yeah, I'm pretty happy that LOK as a system is very fertile in terms of how many ideas it can host. So having a strong idea could be either I want to hide a sneaky, clock among all other keywords, and you would have to go through the process of blacking out and figuring out, oh, I'm only missing one more letter, and okay, I see that I could make a clock somewhere along the way. I mean, this is very, crude right now, crude idea, but yeah, just having a strong idea. Sometimes an idea could be very geometrical, like it would be just fun for the player to have a point during the solving where they would have to jump around the grid in a very nice pattern.
Having an idea you're passionate about and seeing it through to its design conclusion is important as motivation. To help me with that, I have a page of LOK rules that I can refer to, then I just let curiosity take the reins. How can I leave empty tiles within the grid and hide a tlack keyword that spins around? Can I create a grid that feels like those Pokemon ice puzzles where you skate from tile to tile? What's the most constrained and smallest grid with the most hidden keywords I can make? When I'm letting my curiosity take the reins, I'm allowing myself to practice in a way which lets me explore the limits of what the format can do. Whilst it might not lead to puzzles that are good, that isn't the objective here. We're trying to stretch our understanding. And there's no one better to talk about LOK puzzles than the creator themselves. So here's some final words of wisdom from Blaž.
What would be your advice you would give to somebody who's starting out making LOK puzzles? What would be the kind of top advice you would give them?
Is this just someone opening up the editor, or is this someone who would have like a paper and a pen? Because I think that these are two different things in my mind.
Let's say one person who's using pen and paper and one person that's using the editor, and I'd say both have finished the game.
So yeah, for the editor, I would suggest focusing on the later mechanics, so the digital exclusive mechanics, simply because I squeezed a lot more out of the base mechanics because I've done it in the book and I've done it in digital, and I think that I've squeezed out more ideas from the earlier mechanics, while the later ones, like the digital exclusive ones, probably have a lot more to discover still. So yeah, I would maybe focus on them, and yeah, I just try to be elegant, try to break the game, see what can happen, like what could surprise the solver. as far as the paper approach, I think that LOK has LOK uses the whole alphabet, and you could basically come up with a new keyword. And I would love to see this did happen already, and I enjoyed all such custom worlds, let's say. But yeah, maybe come up with your own word and try to come up with an interesting mechanic that would be bound to this word, and do a set of puzzles, not just one, but let's say 5, and try to explore what happens with this keyword. And if we go a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, I would suggest to be a bit restrained with the effect, because I've seen people making custom words just going, oh, this makes a huge splash or a huge effect. I would suggest to be a bit more restrained with it, because then the puzzles themselves can be a little bit more controllable. You can do more surprising things with them.
You did say one thing there, and now I'm curious of what does an elegant LOK puzzle look like to you? What does an elegant puzzle look like for you?
I have a LOK puzzle right here, one of my favorites from the book. Just a second.
Yeah.
Like once the question mark is introduced, it gets. You can be really elegant with it and very expressive, but even before the looping of question mark happens, we have this puzzle.
Yeah.
And I really like this one because you think, oh, I can make a tlag. Okay, tlag doesn't work. Oh, I can make a LOK. Oh, LOK doesn't work. I mean, the solution itself is nothing, mind-blowing, but it just has this funny initial idea. And yeah, I think that this is what I would go for.
Whilst there are specialities within game design that are important to hone and focus on if you want to become a good designer, for me it's also important to have that flexibility to be able to take up any format and run with it. In my practice, I certainly won't stop approaching formats I'm unfamiliar with and learning to unlock the potential that others have found in them. I hope you have fun with the LOK puzzle format, and I look forward to seeing more of them in the wild. Take care, and see you in the next one. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. If you'd like to see my last video on how to make labyrinth puzzles and be notified when the next how-to video releases, then consider subscribing.